Hi Scholar, welcome to the 4th lesson of the 10 video series by Map of English as we guide you to acing your SPM English speaking test. This lesson will begin with me, Teacher XJ, reading out the sample, and after the reading session, I will be explaining to you on how to analyze the question, elaborate on your answer, as well as point out what you should be aware of. Have your booklet and notebook at the ready and let us begin. Alright, as usual, we are going to be starting off with our part 1. And if you remember, I told you part 1, they're always asking you basic questions like what's your name, what's your favorite subject at school, how do you go to school, what do you do in school, what's your hobby, questions like that. Okay, so make sure you already have some sort of answers prepared and be very, very familiar with part 1 already, okay? Because we expect you to be able to answer the questions in part 1 because it's the easiest. Alright, so let's do our reading and see what topic is in store for us today. Good morning, I'm Teacher XJ and this is my colleague Mr. Matthew. He'll just be listening to us. May you tell me your name please? My name is Siva Kumar Raja Kumar, madam. What about you, candidate B? My name is Megat Abdullah Fauzi. Can you tell me where are you from? Yes, madam, I was born and raised in Selangor. Candidate B, are you from around here? Well, I was born in Malacca, but because my father was promoted in work, we had to move to Johor. I've been living here for 2 years already. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions about transportation. Candidate A, do you prefer public or private transportation? I would prefer public transport. This is because not only are they priced at an affordable rate, but when we take public transportation, we are also saving the environment as there will be less emission of carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. Besides, public transportation is rather convenient. It can take us to most places. Alright, candidate B, what do you think is the safest mode of transportation? Why? If I have to choose, I believe it is the train, madam. Normally, there will be 1 or 2 trains traveling on a rail, meaning that there would be a much lesser chance for a road accident to occur, unlike the vehicles that travel on the road. Furthermore, the trains are controlled by either humans or a system that they have set up and have time and distance intervals in between. I see. Thank you for the explanation. Okay, so now speaking of explanation, we are going to move on to the part 1 explanation of your SPM English speaking test. So as usual, please always remember to elaborate on your answer. If they ask you where are you born, where are you from, if you have always been in Selangor, you're born there and you grew up there, you can say I was born and raised in Selangor. Okay, if you were like candidate B, you were originally born in Malacca and eventually moved to another state, you can mention that. Okay, no worries, yeah. And this one, he talked about the safest form of transportation. He chose the train. The elaboration here that he did was good, but as usual, friendly reminder to you that to be careful of your timing and to not talk for too long. Maybe about 10 seconds or 15 seconds is enough. You don't need to talk for like 30 seconds or even a minute, okay? So if you do not know what is a rail, so this is what it looks like. It's basically the pathway that the trains use to travel on because the trains don't have wheels, right? So they had to go on this rail. Not just trains, the rides that you see in theme parks, like the roller coasters, they all also travel on a rail, okay, in order to move because they don't have wheels and they don't need to travel on the road, okay? And then and then we mentioned that there's a lesser chance for the road accident to occur when we travel by train, okay, because trains, they have a system and there's a time and distance intervals in between. What does it mean by time and distance intervals? Means like, if you are someone who is from Selangor or you have taken the train before, you would know that I don't want to mention any companies, like certain companies, the train will come every half an hour or every 5 minutes. So that is the time interval, okay? Like 3 p.m. one train will come, and then the next time the train comes is at 3:30 p.m. and then 4 p.m. You see, there's a half an hour gap, half an hour of interval, okay? So this is what interval means. Same goes for distance. Maybe sometimes they had to wait and see for the train to pass by 5 stations before they send out the next train. Okay, so this is something that occurs in Japan. All right. And obviously Korea, okay, places that countries or places that use trains very, very frequently. All right, so we are going to be moving on to part 2. Okay, part 2, personally, I feel like this is the more challenging part, but it's still not the most challenging, because part 3, the discussion part, is when you had to rely on your partner. That one would be more challenging. Okay, part 2, you can still rely on yourself. Now, in the second part of the test, I'm going to give each of you a topic, and I would like for you to talk about it on your own for about a minute. You also need to answer a question briefly about your partner's topic. Candidate A, you shall go first. Here is your task. I would like you to talk about a kind deed you have done recently. First, you have some time to think about what you are going to say. You may begin. A kind deed which I have come across of doing is when I was visiting the night market a few weeks ago. I had gone there with the intention to buy some dinner for my family and I at one of the food stores, and while I was on my way back, I passed by an alley where I saw a tiny figure standing among the shadows. Initially, I wanted to pretend that I hadn't spotted it, thinking it was a supernatural creature. But when I heard her crying, I knew she was a lost child who was terrified out of her wits. Even though she didn't ask me for my help, I approached her and offered my phone to call her mother. But unfortunately, she didn't know her mother's phone number. I ended up waiting for the girl's mother with her for an hour, but when her mother didn't show up and that little girl grew more anxious, I made the call to bring her to the nearest police station to hand her over to the police. When we arrived, the little girl immediately let go of my hand and ran straight into the station. A woman was already in there, and she turned out to be the little girl's mother. I took my leave after seeing their reunion, as I was happy to see the little girl reunited with her mother safe and sound. I feel that it is of utmost importance for everyone to do a kind deed, as the world needs more kind people. When we help each other out and pay our kind deeds forward, the kind deed will come back to us at the time when we need it most. Thank you. Candidate B, have you done any kind deeds yourself recently? Yes, I have. I helped an old man cross a busy road and carried his heavy grocery bag for him until he reached his home. He tried thanking me by giving me a bar of chocolate, but I refused his kind offer as I wanted to do something nice without getting anything in return. Thank you. Candidate A, I would like the booklet back, please. Candidate B, I would like you to talk about a useful gadget. First, you have some time to think about what you are going to say. You may begin. A useful gadget I could think of is our smartphones. Not only is it portable and fits into our pockets, we would use it for plenty of things too. Our phones consist of plenty of useful functions, such as having a calculator, alarm clock, timer, music player, and video player installed in them. Not only that, we could also use our phones to access the internet and social media platforms, where we could easily upload pictures, videos, or content to share our experiences with others. Needless to say, we were able to read about other people's experiences and learn new information from them as well. Another major convenience our phones bring us is that we can easily communicate with others through phone calls, video calls, and text messages. This leaves us no excuse for not being able to catch up or check up on our loved ones. Typically, depending on what brand the phone is, a phone would cost between 1,000 ringgit to 5,000 ringgit. If you are interested in buying a second-hand phone, the phone will likely cost a few hundred ringgit. Based on my observation, I do think people are over-reliant on gadgets. Even though gadgets were invented with the intention to increase our quality of life, there is still an abundance of individuals who have gotten lazier and have no interest in learning important life skills that would benefit them. It is really easy to identify these individuals too. You just need to ask them to explain or tell you the steps of doing something. Thank you. Candidate A, how many hours do you spend on your phone a day? I would say about 5 to 6 hours. Typically, I would spend at least 4 hours surfing the internet to gain new knowledge or to seek answers for my homework. while the remaining time I will use it on listening to music or scrolling through social media. Thank you. Candidate B, do return the booklet to me, please. Alright, we have come to our part 2 explanation. As usual, we have a lot of things to cover. Okay, here is where I will teach you how to analyze the question. Alright, so the topic that candidate A received was a kind deed. Okay, here I said that the kind deed that he did was to help a girl who was lost, who was separated from her mother in the night market. Okay, you will notice in the beginning, okay, this black part right here, I did not mention specifically what was the kind deed, but instead I talked about the introduction. I gave a background, why I was there, when I was at this place, or when did this kind deed happen. Okay, so you have to listen to me, okay, listen to candidate A until he finished the story. Only then you realize the kind deed that he has done was to help a lost little girl who was separated from her mother. Okay, so you can see the red part here. We answered the question of who did you help. Okay, so we mentioned that, talk about his feelings, right? Initially, he wanted to pretend that he didn't notice this figure that was standing in the dark alleyway because he thought it was a ghost. He thought it was a supernatural creature. But when he heard the little girl cry, he knew that this was someone who was lost. Okay, and this was someone who was terrified out of her wits. What does this mean? It means she was very scared. So instead of saying very scared, there's another way for you to mention terrified out of her wits. What is the meaning of wits? W-I-T-S. It's basically a person's smartness. Okay, you can Google translate that if you don't understand what I meant. Yeah. So some people, when they go into ghost house or whatever, they get so frightened, they get so scared that they can't think properly. That's them being terrified out of their wits. Okay, like I said, wits is like your smartness. Okay. And then we mentioned that, although this little girl didn't ask for our help, but we still approached her and lent her our phone to call her mother. But, because this is a little girl, we think that she is around maybe 6 years old or 5 years old, very young. So she didn't know her mom's phone number. Okay, and then the story continues by you elaborating on what you did. Okay, so what you did was you waited for the little girl's mother with her for about an hour, but eventually when you realize the mother seems like she's not coming, you made the call. You make the decision to bring the little girl to the police station. Okay, to hand her over to the police, to give her over to the police so that the police can help her find her mother. Okay, so how did it end? When both of you arrived at the police station, the little girl ran inside. So it turns out there was already a woman that was inside the police station, and that was her mother. Okay, and then you say, I took my leave. I took my leave means I turned around and I left. Okay, I didn't wait for the little girl's mother to come and thank me. I just felt very happy. I talk about a little bit of my emotions. Okay, I just felt very happy to see her being reunited with her mother. Okay, and she was safe and sound. Alright, so you can see the first 3 points. What was the kind deed? Who did you help? And how did it end? These 3 points are asking you to construct a story on the spot. Okay, and that is what we did. And as usual, the last point, it has something to do with the topic, a kind deed, but it has nothing to do with the story. Right? It asks us about our opinion, whether we think it is important for everyone to do a kind deed. And obviously we say that I feel that it is very, very important. So instead of saying very important, we say of utmost importance. Okay, for everyone to do a kind deed. Why? Reason number 1, because the world needs more kind people. That is our first reason. And then we elaborate. Okay, when we are continuously helping people and we are people are continuously helping each other, eventually when we need the help, this kind deed will come back to us. Okay, there's a saying that goes, what comes around goes around. So what you did, if you've always been a helpful, a good person, your luck will always be good. Okay, the world will not treat you badly if you are a good person. Alright, okay, so again, as usual, like I mentioned in the previous video lesson, that you need to work on your elaboration skills if your elaborations is not so good. Okay, you can elaborate on maybe your 5 senses, what you see, what you feel, okay, What did you touch? What did you do? Okay, what did you smell? Okay, what did you think? You can elaborate on these things when you are trying to think of what to say. Let me, as usual, do it right off the bat on the spot right now and show you what would this speaking test look like if you didn't have any elaboration, okay, following the 4 points. All right, so let's begin, yeah? The kind deed that I did not too long ago, which I think was about a month ago, was when I helped a little girl who was lost. Can you see? Just by that one sentence, we answered 2 things already. What was the kind deed and who did you help? It's too short, right? And then by the speed that we are going, we are probably going to finish this speaking test, this 1 minute speaking test in like 30 seconds, okay? I tried to ask her what was wrong when I saw her crying, but she couldn't answer me. When I tried to lend her my phone so that she could call her mother, she told me that she didn't know what was her mother's phone number. In the end, I brought her to the police station and the police helped her to find her mother. I was happy to see both mother and daughter were reunited with each other and took my leave. I think it is important for people to do a kind deed because the world needs more kind people, and when we help each other out, eventually the kind deed will come back to us when we need the kind deed at the time that we need it the most. Can you see how short it is when you don't have elaboration? So work on that. I'm not expecting you to write it as long as I am, okay? Don't need to worry, okay? You can write it about half the length that I'm showing you here right now, okay? Again, I am writing it this long because I'm used to writing content that are this long and I like to elaborate on things. And I am a fast speaker, so this content is this long, right? I can finish within 1 minute if I spoke fast. Okay, now I'm just like during my reading sessions, I just slow it down so that you can hear my pronunciation and learn how to pronounce the words as well. Okay, all right, let's move on to the second part. What candidate B has answered. Okay, so he was asked to talk about a useful gadget. It can be anything, but here we chose our smartphones. It can be laptops, it can be radio, TV, telephone, camera, a fridge, an oven, anything. Okay, so in the beginning, we are asked to talk about what was the gadget. So candidate B said that a useful gadget I could think of is our smartphones. Okay, so the word useful is an adjective. And adjective are words that you use to describe things. You can use adjective to describe people: tall, short, fat, ugly, thin, beautiful, okay, all these words. So here to make our sentence longer, okay, and to make it sound better, we can also add an adjective, okay? It's like technically part of your elaboration, okay? And then we give a little bit of background, okay? We talk about like the benefits of our smartphone, okay? Not only is it portable means this thing you can easily bring it around and it can fit into our pockets. Okay, we would also use it for plenty of things. Then we transition into the next point. What do we use it for? Okay, we mentioned that our phones, there are a lot of useful apps, a lot of useful functions that are installed in it. Calculator, alarm clocks, music players, video players. And we also talk about how it can be used to access the internet and on our social media platforms. Social media platforms, if you still don't know, it is our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all these things. Okay, and then we further elaborate by talking about what we can do on these social media platforms through our phones. We can upload pictures, we can read the news, exchange information, all these things. And then most important of it all, a smartphone can allow us to communicate with people. Okay, through what method? We elaborate through phone calls, video calls, or even text messages. And we elaborate further by saying that, with the convenience of smartphones that allows us to communicate with others, we now no longer have any excuse to not talk or check up on our loved ones, on our friends, or our family. Okay, and then they ask us, how much did it cost? Okay, so you can see here, today's topic is a bit different, the answer. You will see that I wrote, typically depending on what brand the phone is, a phone would cost between 1,000 ringgit to 5,000 ringgit. Okay, we answered how much did it cost, right? So this is correct. Why did I just now mention that this answer is slightly different? You see, this is what I want you to take note. Here we ask about how much did this gadget that you mentioned, which is a smartphone, cost. So you had to talk about the average. Some phones can be 1,000 ringgit. Some phones can go all the way to 5,000 ringgit, right? It is not just asking about the phone that you are using. Okay, let's say you are someone who uses an iPhone. An iPhone obviously is like 5,000 or 6,000, right? So you cannot say a phone costs around 5 to 6,000. You can't say that. Okay, it can't just be depending on the brand that you're using, unless the question is they ask you what is your favorite gadget, what do you use it for, and how much did it cost. It's your gadget, right? You are the only person using this gadget. Then you can elaborate how much this phone cost. Okay, so yeah, this is something I wanted you to notice. Yeah, so here we are talking about general. Okay, and then we say that the phone can be about 1,000 ringgit to 5,000 ringgit. Okay, and also there's another kind, right? You have a second-hand phone, and the second-hand phone, most of the time they cost a few hundred ringgit. Okay, and then our last question, as usual, something to do with the topic, but it has nothing to do with like our storytelling session. They are asking the question, whether do you think people are too reliant, they depend too much on gadgets in their lives. This is not talking about phones. Okay, they ask you to pick what gadget for your first point, right? But for the fourth point, they're asking you about the general thing. Gadgets, are people too reliant on gadgets in their lives? They are referring to gadgets such as TV, cars, telephones, cameras, fridges, all these things. Okay, so we have to give a general answer. Okay, we can say that I do think people are over reliant on gadgets, and then we give our reasoning. Okay, after we give our point, we give our reasoning. We say that gadgets are all initially invented to improve our lives, but then there are a lot of people who have become lazier, and they have zero interest to learn important life skills, because the gadgets are there to help them to not learn these skills, right? So at the end of the day, the people who are not willing to learn these skills, they are the ones who would suffer or be at a loss, especially when it comes a day where all gadgets stop working. You don't know whether that will happen or not. Okay, so it's always good to be prepared with those important life skills, like knowing how to cook basic meals, knowing how to, I don't know, fix your fan or whatever. Maybe not fix your fan, change a light bulb. Okay, these important life skills I'm talking about, as well as washing your clothes, all these things. And then we can mention, it is really easy to identify these individuals, like the people who don't know how to use, or not don't know, the people who don't really have any life skills. Okay, we just need to ask them to explain how to use a washing machine, right? Or to do something. If they can't explain it, means obviously they don't know how to use it, or they don't know how to do that particular thing. Okay, as usual, you need to have elaboration. All right, let me again tell you on the spot, like what's coming out on my brain on the spot, yeah, if we don't have elaboration. Okay, let's do it based on these 4 points. Okay, the gadget that I think is the most useful is our smartphones. Normally, we use our smartphones as alarm clocks to wake ourselves up in the morning, as a replacement from buying actual calculators. We also use it to listen to music and watch videos. Most important of it all, we use it to communicate with others through phone calls, video calls, and text messages. Normally, a smartphone, would cost between 1,000 ringgit to 5,000 ringgit. Personally, I think people are too reliant on gadgets in their lives to the point that they do not have any or much life skills. It is really to identify these people too. We just need to ask them to explain to us the steps of doing something. If they don't know how to do something, we know they are being too reliant on gadgets. Can you see how short it is? Okay, it's not wrong, just that it is short. Okay, I'm afraid that if your answers are too short, you're given 1 minute to talk, right? And then after 20 seconds, you just finish your entire thing already. And what if you are someone who speaks very fast when you're nervous? So this is why I say always prepare your own answers. Like even when you're seeing my sample answers, my topics now, right, you need to, what do you call that, come up with your own points as well. Okay, it is not, I don't really encourage my students to copy and paste whatever references you read from word to word. You can refer, I'm not saying you cannot refer, you can refer, but write the points or write the examples in your own words, right? Because when you write it, you are practicing. And when you are able to write the content, you will be able to remember it well. Okay, so try to do that. Alright, moving on to our SPM English Speaking Test Part 3. Okay, I just realized, I don't know why, right? My Bitmoji always looks so blurry after I have like enlarged them. So bear with it, okay? That is supposed to be me since I am not putting like my video in this video lesson. That's because I wanted you to have like the full view of the slides without like seeing my face there, because I feel like the rectangle column of my video would take up space, so that's why I never put it. Okay, let's see what do they have for us. As usual, part 3 is a discussion. Either candidate A or candidate B can start first, so please refer to the mind map that is given to you, and you have 20 seconds to prepare. Not 30 seconds each person, 20 seconds altogether. Alright, now I would like the both of you to talk about something together for about 3 minutes. The task consists of 2 parts. In the first part, you will discuss something with each other for about 2 minutes, and you have another minute to make a decision together in the second part. Let's begin the discussion. With online shops, shopping has become easier and more accessible to all. Here are some benefits online shopping brings us and a question for you to do your discussion with. You now have some time to look at the task. Now, begin the discussion. Prior to the pandemic, online shopping was slowly gaining popularity since it was a convenience for people to shop without visiting the shop's locations. But at that time, people were still wary of online shops and were worried that they are scammers. However, when the pandemic hit, online shopping became a great hit too and has maintained the stature ever since. One of the main benefits as to why online shopping is a popular choice among people is that it saves their time when it comes to shopping for items. People no longer need to travel to the nearest shopping malls or have to do their shopping only on the weekends if they have a 9-to-5 job. They could easily shop for the product they need in the comforts of their own home and wait for the items to be delivered. That's a good observation, and you are right about it. Furthermore, through online shopping, people would be able to redeem vouchers or receive secret codes for additional discounts. Customers may also receive discounts when the products and items they are purchasing exceeds a certain amount. Discounts are not often given in physical stores. Most of the time, there would just be an annual sale and that's it. Online shopping differs in this, as the discounts could be daily, weekly, and monthly, which would help thrifty consumers to save more. This reminds me, speaking of saving more, consumers could definitely save more during their online shopping by comparing the prices of items between different stores. With the presence of online shops, they no longer need to go from shop to shop to search for the same item on different shelves, as they can easily type what they are looking for and make the comparison on their phones. Customers also have a wider access to products when they shop online. Sometimes, the item, product, or service they are looking for is not in stock or not available in physical shops, and this would be a hassle to search for in other places when the customer is in a rush. Through online shopping, the customer would only need to type the name or code of the product they are looking for in the search bar and get ready to pay for the item once they have found it. Moreover, people would have a much easier time sending gifts to their family or friends, especially when they are in different locations. This would make gift exchanges during festive seasons or birthday an easy occurrence. Customers could pick the presents their family or friend would want, thanks to them having a wider access of products in online shops. Receive a free shipping coupon when they have spent a certain amount, and have a courier company deliver the gift to their family or friend's doorstep. The only thing they needed to do was to fill in the address and pay for the item. How convenient! Let's not forget that online shopping would prevent buyers from compulsive buying. When shoppers shop for items online, they will only be adding plenty of items into their carts. However, sometimes they may add too many items and the total will be out of their budget, as the system would calculate their total spendings for them. This would make them think twice about their spendings, and they would pick and choose which items they needed more. You have to decide together which is the most beneficial aspect shopping online has brought us. The most beneficial element of online shopping is that consumers would get to send gifts to their loved ones easily without much trouble. I would have to disagree with you, unfortunately. The major advantage of online shopping for me is that I could save plenty of money, and I can save the extra money that I didn't use during my online shopping either into my bank account or for other use. Now that I think about it, I couldn't agree more. Saving money through online shopping is definitely the better benefit as compared to sending gifts to our loved ones. Thank you. I would like to have the booklet back, please. You have been discussing the benefits of shopping online. Now, let's hear your opinions about this. Do you think physical shops would disappear in the near future? I don't think so, as there are still plenty of consumers who would very much prefer to be able to see, touch, and examine the product that they are going to buy. And physical stores are just the place where they could do that. I do think that physical shops will be replaced by online shopping one day. This is due to the fact that the sellers themselves will save plenty when they do not have a physical shop to tend to, as they do not need to pay much rent or spend the money for renovation. With the convenience of the internet and social media, their customer base has been expanded globally. Thank you. That is the end of the speaking test. You can see we have a really fruitful discussion and a really interesting end at the end. I will explain it to you, no worries. So let us move on to the part 3 explanation of our SPM English speaking test. So in the beginning, candidate B was the one who started the discussion. Like I said, not necessarily candidate A must be the one who starts the discussion. Candidate B can do so. Okay. He started off by giving us a little bit of background, a little bit of introduction by saying that, before the pandemic happens, online shopping was already a thing, but it was still not very popular. Oh yeah, just now I mentioned online shopping was already a thing. This is informal English. Please don't use it during your exam. Okay, I'm just saying it because we are like explaining, okay? And then, however, when the pandemic happened, online shopping became a great hit. So this is actually a pun. A pun is like something like a joke, I guess, that I said. So when the pandemic hit, so when the pandemic attacked us, online shopping became popular. So we say that it became a great hit. Your favorite artists, your favorite musicians, sometimes they have a hit of their songs, right? It is the type of song that is receiving a lot of popularity from listeners. So that's what they meant by a great hit. And that is what it means here, how online shopping became a great hit. And has maintained that stature, has maintained that status ever since. Okay, and then we move on to our benefits, okay, of why online shopping is popular, because it helps people to save their time. Okay, so this is a common observation. So our main point here is it helps people to save time. So we elaborate, how does online shopping help people to save time? Okay, so for people who had to work 9 to 5 jobs, meaning this is not them taking more than one job. This is talking about the time. They start at 9 a.m. and the job ends at 5 p.m. That's what it means by 9 to 5 job, yeah? Okay, and then we elaborate, okay, by saying that, they can do their shopping at night or in the comforts of their own home. Okay, they don't need to spend their weekends going for groceries or buying things because, online shopping is convenient. They don't need to wait for a time when they are free. Okay, all right, and then candidate A continued the discussion and, voiced out his agreement, saying that, that's a good observation and I believe you are correct about it. And then he transitioned, okay, into the next point, saying that, it is through online shopping where customers would be able to redeem vouchers and secret codes for extra discounts. So instead of saying extra discounts, you can upgrade your vocabulary and say additional discounts. I do not know whether it's this part right here. Oh yeah, it is this part. Okay, you can see the bottom, right? Okay, never mind. I'll just explain this one first. And then we have a common observation right here, which is, customers, we can receive discounts, okay, of the products we are purchasing. Okay, and then another observation that we add on, It can also be considered as our elaboration lah. Okay, we say that discounts are not often given in physical stores, but on online platforms is different. The discounts could be a daily, weekly, or monthly thing, especially through platforms like Shopee and Lazada, right? And then this would help thrifty consumers to save more. What is consumers? Consumers are the customers, the users. Thrifty means you are someone who saves more than you spend. Okay. So moving on to our next point, okay, this reminds me, candidate B continued the conversation and he mentioned, speaking of saving more, what is the next point? Okay, we say that the consumers, the customers can definitely save more during their online shopping because online shopping provides them the opportunity to be able to compare prices of items. Prices is the harga, the 价钱. Okay, if it's Prizes, it's the hadiah, the 礼物. Okay, prizes, you will only receive prizes, ZES, when you win a competition. Okay, so we continue our elaboration by saying that, with the existence, with the presence of online shops, customers no longer need to go from shop to shop and spend more time to compare prices of the item that they wanted to buy, okay, because they can just easily do so by typing for that particular product or item or service online and just do their research, do their price comparison there. Okay, so our next point, candidate A, we say that customers, they have a wider access to products when they shop online. You have a wider variety. Okay, let's see our observation. So our observation that we talked about here is that certain products or certain services, maybe it is not available to us in the shops that are near us or in our area. So when we are able to go on the internet, go online shopping, we would not only save time looking for it, right? The word hassle. Hassle means troublesome. Okay, a lot of things to do, a hassle like that. Okay, so we are saying that if customers, they want to look for a product and they don't really have time to do so, they can find the name or the code of the thing or the product that they wanted to buy and get ready to pay for it. So this last line right here, it's more of like an elaboration, but it's not that important. The main point that you have to talk about here is that when we go online, when we shop online, there is a wider variety of choices of products, items, or services for us to choose from, especially if this item, product, or service is not available in our area. Okay, so that is the better part of the point that we have to talk about. Okay, the behind the last sentence, it's more of like an elaboration only, not so important in my opinion. Okay, and then the next point, that there's a transition, we use moreover. Okay, and then our main point here is that people would have an easier time to send gifts to family or friends. And then we have our elaboration or common observation. Okay, so regardless of what celebration or what festivities festive seasons are, like Christmas, Chinese New Year, Hari Raya, all these things. Okay, so it is easy for us to be able to send gifts to each other. Okay, thanks to online shopping, we just need to fill in our friends or our family's addresses and just pay for the item, and then there will also be someone who will wrap the present and ship it to our friends. You see, this is a common observation, and at the same time we are elaborating on how this process works. Okay, alright, so candidate A has the last point. Okay, continued the conversation by saying, let's not forget that online shopping would prevent buyers from compulsive buying. Okay, so compulsive buying is when you buy things without thinking twice, without thinking whether you really need this item or if you just want this item. Okay, so we have a common observation here. We say that when shoppers shop for items online, they will be adding plenty of items into their carts. Okay, but sometimes they may add too many things. Okay, so you can see I have a typo here. It's not too many times, too many items. ITEMS. Okay, this one wasn't a typo. I believe it was a what do you call that? Autocorrect. Okay, so yeah, so please take note. It's not added too many times. Add too many items. Okay, the total will be out of their budget. So actually here, when I was doing the initial reading like a few minutes ago, I actually thought of another elaboration y'all can mention if you want to. You can say that, in real life, when you buy too many things, you tend to not use the calculator to count how much you have spent until you go to the cashier to pay for the items. But however, when the amount comes out, it will shock you, right? But during that time, if you want to return some of the products, you will sometimes feel embarrassed because you feel like the cashier is judging you, you know. So online shopping allows you to take out what you feel like you don't necessarily need just yet from your cart. Okay, so this allows you to save more and prevents you from compulsive buying, because before you don't need to deal with anyone physically, and the system will just calculate how much you are spending. So that is fine. Okay, so that is our elaboration. Okay, our reasoning right here is, we say that when individuals who overspend, who go over budget, what they would do, is to take out the items, right, so that they feel like they don't really need just yet. So our reasoning, continuing off the point and elaboration, is this would make them think twice, make them reconsider about their spendings, and they would pick and choose which items they needed more. And this last sentence is also a consequence. Okay, what would you do when you're online shopping, when you overspend on your budget? Obviously, you're going to decrease the number of items or things that you are going to buy in the first place. All right, and this is the part right here where I say it gets interesting. Candidate A mentioned the most beneficial element of online shopping is that consumers will get to send gifts, but candidate B disagrees with the point, okay, and provides his elaboration when he picked his best point. Candidate A, at this time, if this happened to you in real life, don't panic, okay? You can just straight away agree with candidate B and again provide a little bit of elaboration. Okay, you just say, oh, now that I think about it, or after hearing what you have said, I agree with you. Okay, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more is not I disagree. It means I agree with you so much to the point that, there is no question anymore. Okay, so that's what it means. So we have a little bit elaboration by, following with the point that candidate B made, okay, which is can save plenty of money. How so? Or we can, if we don't have any points like candidate A, maybe candidate A is still panicking, right? So you can see candidate's answer is actually not a point. It's more of like an elaboration, or not to say elaboration, a change of mind. He said that saving money through online shopping is definitely the better benefit as compared to sending gifts to our loved ones. He didn't say any point. He just rethinked what happened and just, basically repeated. Now that I think about it, I couldn't agree more. It's the same thing only. Just that when he put it into words, it sounds like he's saying something. Okay? So y'all can try and see whether you can, what do you call that? Write out or type out your answer like this. Okay, try. All right, don't tell me you didn't try and then you just go for your listening test. Sorry, not listening test, for your speaking test. Obviously, you're not gonna succeed on your first try. That's why we need to practice. Okay. All right. So the last question, as usual, they always ask you something related to the topic. So here they're asking you about online shops, right? And the questions they ask you to answer for your last part of your part 3 is, do you think physical shops would disappear in the near future? Because online shopping nowadays is gaining more and more popularity. As usual, I prepared 2 types of answers for you guys. First candidate says yes, says no, I don't think it will disappear, because there's still a lot of customers, still a lot of consumers. They want to be able to see, to touch, to check. So instead of saying check, we upgrade our vocabulary, we say examine. Okay, so I'm one of those people. I prefer to see and touch and examine the product if possible. Okay, so that's why candidate B's answer is that, and candidate A's answer is different. He said that I do think physical shops will disappear one day and it will be replaced by online shopping. And then he gave his reasoning. Why? Because the sellers who are selling the products, if they don't have a physical shop, they don't need to pay much rent. Okay, they obviously don't need to spend money on renovation, and they can just use the internet and social media to advertise their products, because the internet and social media allows one to have a much wider customer base, more customers, more people to see what they are selling. Okay, and not just locally but globally. all around the world as well. Okay, as usual, you don't need to continue this as a discussion. It's optional. You don't need to say, oh, I agree with you. Not necessary. Okay, just have your point plus elaboration plus example. Okay, that is enough. Alright, so we have come to the end to the 4th lesson of this video lesson. And again, as usual, like I keep nagging you, I guess, please practice. Write out your answers, practice your speech, practice talking. Okay, maybe look at yourself in the mirror or record yourself when you're talking and listen to how you sound when you're talking. Are you stuttering all over the place? Or do you spend too much time thinking? Or do you keep saying filler words? Filler words are words like all these. Okay, so if you're saying too much filler words, change it. Change this habit. Okay, like for me, I'm still trying to change my habit. I feel like I'm changing it quite successfully. Instead of saying you can replace it with certain words like okay, alright, all these words. Okay, so try to stop saying all these things. Alright, so remember, as long as you are willing to practice, you will never fail. Okay, I'm sure you all know the Lofty girl on YouTube, right? The one who is always studying, doing live, right? The cartoon girl. So be like her, always practice. Alright, okay, so that is the end of today's lesson. Take a break, come back tomorrow and look at the 5th lesson. Alright, I'll see you in the next video, scholar. Bye.